Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Week 2 of Hard Hitters. I'm your host this week, Carson, joined by
Ethan Ferris.
Noah Grinner.
And Packy Bogus.
So we had a pretty exciting Week 1 in the NFL. A lot of upsets. Week 1 always tends to be a bit weird, but there was still some really weird stuff going on there, which I'm sure we'll address as we talk about these games because, you know, the best predictor of the future is the past. So let's just jump right into it. Thursday Night Football, we've got an AFC East rivalry right off the bat. We've got the Buffalo Bills coming down to Miami to take on Tua and the Dolphins.
I think the Bills and I think both teams played great. I think the Dolphins could have played a little better last week. I do think that I remember the last time these two played, Miami got smacked in Buffalo. But I do think now that they're home, they have a chance at winning this game, and I'm going to go with Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing the Bills jersey. Josh Allen's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Josh Allen owns the Dolphins. He is like 10-2 or 10-1 against them all time. One of his only losses was last year by 2 points when players were literally passing out from heat exhaustion. And they're not going to be dealing with that this year because it's a night game. I know the Bills look a little different. They don't have Diggs. They lost a lot of defensive players, but they still pulled it out last week against the Cardinals. The kick return touchdown was exciting, but it made the game look a lot closer than it was. The Bills smacked the Cardinals around in the second half, and I think they'll do more of the same this week. Give me the Bills and Josh Allen to beat Tua turn the ball over. All right, now moving on to the Sunday slate. We've got starting with the 1 o'clock games. We've got the Raiders taking on the Ravens.
Both teams really disappointed me in Week 1. I thought the Raiders had a lot better of a defense than they did. Max Crosby got shut down by a rookie. Didn't think that was going to happen. The Ravens didn't run the ball as much as I wanted them to. They very limited use of Derrick Henry. They passed a lot, which is good in some situations, but I think if they would have got that going a little bit more, they could have had a different situation in Kansas City. But I got to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, I also have to go with the Ravens on this one. I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer across the board. I'd be surprised that Carson picks the Raiders, to be honest with you. They were so close to beating the Chiefs last week, and I think that alone speaks to how good they're going to be this season, so Ravens all the way.
All right, moving on. Speaking of electricity, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on probably the worst team in the NFL who lost 47-10 last week, the Carolina Panthers.
I think this is a no-brainer. The Chargers actually surprised me, though, against the Raiders. I mean, their O-line looked great, protecting Justin Herbert against Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. I think this Chargers team takes this game. I think it's just more than evident, and I got the Chargers.
So you're going to hear it a lot this week. I'm going to, just in general weeks throughout the whole entire season, I'm going to tell y'all that the Panthers sold their soul to the Bears. That's just given. And this whole entire season, you're going to see that. They're bottom-tier team. They're probably going to get the first overall pick again if they keep it and not trade it away like they did. So give me the Chargers.
All right, next up, we've got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. We didn't have this news last week. Dak Prescott, now the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL, making $60 million a year.
Cowboys really surprised me. I thought they were going to have a tougher battle with that Cleveland defense, not the Cleveland offense. I think anybody could look good against them. But Zeke looked really good. He really surprised me, and the Saints really surprised me too, obviously, but they were also playing the Panthers. I can't really gauge how good they are yet until they play a real team like Dallas, so as of right now, give me Dallas.
There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said. The Saints are always just kind of slightly above average every single year, but this Cowboys team doesn't fall apart until the playoffs happen, so I will be picking the Cowboys most games until the playoffs happen. Give me the Cowboys. All right, next up we got an exciting matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions.
I think the Bucs played great. I love their offense. I mean, Baker went off in that game, and I wanted the Lions to do more against the Rams, especially without Puka. I mean, they played really well, but I do think that the Buccaneers will come to Detroit and beat the Lions.
Playoff rematch. That last drive in overtime by the Lions was a thing of beauty. They knew exactly what was going to happen, and they just kept running the ball down the Rams' throats. It's at Detroit. It's gonna be a hard-fought battle. I do like Baker and the Buccaneers, but you got to give me the Lions here.
All right, next up we've got what could be a very interesting matchup depending on how an injury plays out. We've got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the potentially Malik Willis-led Green Bay Packers.
It's going to scare me. Our run defense looked horrid last week against Joe Mixon. He had like 150 yards. But I got faith in that offense, even with some turf issues. You saw a lot of slipping. We still almost squeaked that out. Anthony Richardson on the deep ball. There might not be a better deep ball quarterback in the league right now. Malik, it's hard to go in Lambeau and win, but I got to take my Colts.
Next up, we've got the battle of two disappointing teams from Week 1. We've got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Like I said earlier, the Browns they looked more disappointing than the Jaguars to me. I think the Jaguars, although they didn't play their best game, they surprised a lot of people in a close game with Miami. I think Miami was definitely favored in that game, and Jacksonville fought it out. They eventually lost, but I think that, with ETN and Gabe Davis showing up, along with Brian Thomas scoring his touchdown, I think they got a good offense. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence didn't have his best game, but I mean he was able to get to the ball to the receivers when he needed to, and I think their defense stepped up a little bit, and I do see them beating the Browns.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with the Jaguars here. The Browns, that offense is pitiful, and now they've got another outside distraction as Deshaun Watson just caught another case. Like that, the fact that they even traded for him in the first place proves to be the worst trade in NFL history, and then that contract is terrible. I'm with everyone else on the start Jameis train. We're tired of seeing Deshaun Watson on the football field. Get him out of here. That Browns defense is what makes me hesitant to pick the Jaguars. Myles Garrett is still Myles Garrett. I mean, and even though the Cowboys did beat up on him, Dak Prescott only had 179 passing yards and one touchdown, so it's not like the Cowboys' offense obliterated them. There was defense, there was special teams in place. I really am going back and forth on this, but I think I'm going to go Jaguars just because I think that Browns offense is just that bad. All right, next up, we've got the San Francisco 49ers, who had 8 straight drives with points against the Jets last week, taking on the Sam Darnold-led Vikings.
Got to see people are taking Sam Darnold for who he is. I think he can be a very decent quarterback in this league, almost kind of like a Joe Flacco type. But you're at home against the 49ers. 49ers are a juggernaut. They played both aspects of the game perfectly last week against the Jets. With no CMC, no problem. They could still run the ball down your throat with no matter who you have. So I think there's a chance that the Vikings can win this, maybe squeak it out, but I'm going to have to take the 49ers.
I'm going to pick the 49ers too, and really because, while the Vikings made a lot of improvements week 1, I think they're playing the Giants, and I think that team has been very demoralized after taking Saquon away from them. And, just Daniel Jones playing like Daniel Jones, not good at all. And I think that did allow Sam Darnold and the Vikings to capitalize a lot, especially on defense. I mean, how can you go out there on defense feeling motivated to win a game when your offense can't even do anything to help you? Yeah. That's, as a Bears fan, I can relate to that. Anyways, give me the 49ers. That's tough. I mean, I don't see how. I think going off the momentum in Cincinnati with the Patriots, I think that's hard for them to sway off of. I mean, that's a very noticing win on opponent territory, and then when no one was picking you to win it in the first place. I think we all were picking the Bengals.
Oh yeah, it was unanimous.
So I think that was a no-brainer. I was saying before this meeting that I think that was the surprise of the week. So give me the Patriots. They're going back to their home turf for their first home game of the season, so I think it will be a good one for them.
Yeah, the momentum train is a hard thing to just completely ignore in this game. But I think the Bengals beat themselves more than the Patriots beat them, in my personal opinion. The Patriots only scored 16 points. It wasn't like and that was with the Bengals missing 15 tackles. That's the most the Bengals have missed since forever. So the Bengals defense played atrocious, and the Patriots offense only managed to score 16. I think the Seahawks defense will play better. I think the win against the Bengals put the Patriots kind of on watch in the NFL, so a team's not going to just be able to just brush by them. So give me the Seahawks here. All right, now we've got the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers healthy. He completed the full game. Robert Saleh said in his post-game presser that being 0-1 after Week 1 this year felt a lot better than being 1-0 last year because they still got Aaron Rodgers intact. And they are taking on the Tennessee Titans, who blew a 17-point lead to the Chicago Bears without giving up a single offensive touchdown in the weirdest game of the week. But anyway, that was last week. This is this week, Jets-Titans.
Yeah, this game throws me off, guys. I really don't know who to pick here. The Jets, I honestly expected them to perform better against the 49ers with A-Rod coming back and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. I really did think their offense would do better than what they did. And the Titans, they blew that lead. I mean, I think Levis had 2 interceptions. I mean, you gotta count that in there. And even with DeAndre Hopkins back, I really don't know. I'm just gonna have to trust the more veteran here, and I'm gonna go with A-Rod and the Jets.
We saw A-Rod could still sling the ball last week against the 49ers. The thing that scares me is he can't get out of the pocket anymore. He looks scared to get out of the pocket, but he's still A-Rod. He can still throw the ball very well. They need to get that ground game established against the Titans and early. I still do think the Titans are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. You saw it last week. It was one of the worst collapses I've ever seen without giving up an offensive touchdown. I still don't trust Will Levis, so give me A-Rod and the Jets.
To round out the 1 o'clock slate, we've got a real barn burner here of the New York Giants taking on the Washington Commanders, who are coming off with some momentum off of Jaden Daniels' impressive debut last week.
Oh yeah, give me Jaden Daniels and the Commanders all the way. The Giants played terribly. I mean, Danny Dimes was not the move. He was not throwing dimes. In fact,
Bricks.
give me the Commanders all the way. I like their offense. I think that was Jaden Daniels' first NFL start. We didn't really predict him to win his first NFL start. I think he builds into this offense and builds momentum with some veterans on that team, and I like the Commanders. Give me the Commanders.
2 words of why the Commanders are going to win this week, and that's Daniel Jones.
All right, now we're moving on to the 4 o'clock slate. We've got an NFC West matchup. We've got the Los Angeles Rams, who are without Puka Nacua for at least the next 4 weeks, taking on the Arizona Cardinals.
Rams looked really good against a Lions team who was really good last week. Barely lost. You have to lose a heartbreaker in overtime, maybe because the Lions are cheating a bit with that blue jersey and the blue end zone, but even without Puka, Cooper Kupp looks really good, made it back to his Triple Crown season form. The Cardinals surprised me, but I still don't think they have enough in the tank. I don't think they're clicking fully yet, so give me the Rams.
Yeah, this is definitely a tough one. I think I'm going to go to the Cardinals here, but I'm not fully confident in it. They did impress me last week, taking an early lead against the Bills. Of course, they did then blow that lead, but it still proves that they can go toe-to-toe with elite competition, which is not something we could have said for them for about 4 or 5 years now. The Rams are still a great team, but they're now Aaron Donald less, they're Puka Nacua less, Matthew Stafford's not getting any younger, Cooper Kupp is not getting any younger. The Lions really stuffed that run game last week. It could really go either way, but since there's home field advantage, and since I did like what I saw from that offense for a good amount last week, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. All right, next up, in the most exciting game of the week, we've got the Steelers taking on the Broncos. I'm kidding. That's horrible. But we've got Justin Fields as the starting quarterback for the Steelers taking on Bo Picks and the Broncos.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I told you guys the Steelers were going to come and beat the Falcons in Atlanta, and that's exactly what we did. We took over the A. I think Boswell was MVP of that game for sure.
I mean, he scored all your points.
Justin Fields, no interceptions. He was able to at least bring the ball down the field and manageable field goal range. I do think that our offense has patches to work on, but I think that's reasonable with what we have right now as our offensive weapons. Our defense looked absolutely amazing against the Falcons. I don't see how Bo Nix really gets anything done here in this game. I don't think they had 2 interceptions last week, and that's against the Seahawks defense. I mean, we put a show against Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Drake London. I mean, Kyle Pitts. I mean, I could go on and on about the Falcons offense and how we shut them down. And yeah, give me the Steelers, man. I'm gonna go right out with my guys, man.
Now, for the actual most exciting game of the 4 o'clock slate, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on my Cincinnati Bengals in Arrowhead. They used to call it Burrowhead, but I'm not doing that because last time that happened, we lost the AFC Championship game. I'm a Bengals diehard fan, but even I don't know if we've got a chance in this game. The Bengals do always start off slow. That has been the defining characteristic of the Joe Burrow era. We are 1-10, I think it was now, since Burrow came in weeks 1 and 2. We've won 1 game, and that was Chase's rookie year, and it was an overtime win against the Vikings. Other than that, we have lost to everyone the first 2 weeks since Burrow came in. this Chiefs game was why it was so important to win that Patriots game, because you knew you were probably not going to win this game, and they couldn't even do the Patriots game. Maybe they were looking ahead. Maybe they just overlooked the Patriots. We're focusing too much on this Chiefs game, and that's why what happened last week happened. I still have faith in my Bengals. If there's one quarterback in the league that can beat Patrick Mahomes, it's been proven to be Joe Burrow. He's 3-1 against him. So I'm never going to count my Bengals out, but it's still early in the season. It's in Arrowhead. T. Higgins might be still out with his hamstring injury, and you need both Higgins and Jamar to beat the Chiefs. I've got confidence, but not all the confidence in the world, and I hate to do it, but I'm picking the Chiefs. Alrighty, now to round out Sunday, we've got Sunday Night Football with what should be a pretty exciting matchup if Caleb Williams can throw for over 100 yards this week. We've got the Chicago Bears taking on the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football.
With this game, it's kind of like the same exact position I just talked about the last game with the Bengals. We did not play good week one. We're lucky we even won. And if we want any chance of beating the Texans, we have to pick it up pronto. I think our defense got it covered. Granted, we let Tony Pollard rush all over us. But I still think we have a pretty solid defense that can still create turnovers and get us that ball back. And it's likely the Texans are going to win. But I'm going to pick the Bears. They surprised me last week. I picked against them. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I did. And wait, no.
No, you picked your team.
I did. Oh, well, there we go. Anyways, I'm going to pick them again because you never know what's going to happen. The Texans will probably win, but I'm a big Bears fan, so you never know.
Now to round out the week, we've got Monday Night Football. We've got two bird teams here. We've got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think we saw what the Falcons were capable of against a good team. The Steelers, showed them what's up, and I think the Eagles take this one. They're playing in Philly, I think. So I think I don't see the Dirty Birds doing much here. I think the Eagles take this one, and I got the Eagles.
Gotta remember, Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles tear. I know, mobility is not a huge part of his game, but you're still coming off a pretty bad injury. And it's not like Aaron Rodgers, where it was literally the first snap of the season almost. He got his injury later in the season, so I think he's still trying to get some rust off, if that makes sense. But you're at Philly, and that's one of the most harshest environments to play in. Saquon had a great week last week, 3 touchdowns. Now, the Eagles' offensive line doesn't look as good. That secondary was getting toasted, especially, I think, Garner Johnson. He was getting toasted. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think, but I'm going to take the Eagles simply because they're at Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah, this is the first home game of the year for the Philadelphia Eagles. You bet those, what's their fan crew? The Bird Crew? I forgot what it is. The Dog Pound? I don't even know what they're called. Whatever it is. Doesn't matter what the name is. Those fans are going to come out in full support of the Eagles, man. The Falcons got a really rough one in store for them, and just for that reason alone, Eagles.
Yeah, don't forget, this is primetime Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins does not do well in primetime historically.
I forgot about that.
That's reason alone enough to pick the Eagles, and that's without talking about how well the Eagles did last week and how poor the Falcons did. I think the Falcons do still have a bright season ahead of them once Kirk Cousins does shake off the rust, and I think he just needs to get hit a couple times to make sure that Achilles is going to hold up. I think that'll help his nerves a lot if he just gets hit a couple times, which I guess this Eagles D-line, he might as very well get hit a couple times. Give me the Eagles. All right, thank you all for tuning in this week. To check out our Week 2 picks, be sure to tune in next week to see how we did and to hear our Week 3 picks.